Cybersecurity and cyber safety are two of the biggest areas in our own personal lives today. Who hasn't heard about someone that's been scammed or phished? And especially nowadays with our use of social media and the amount of disinformation around, I think these are areas which we need to be aware of. I'm Franca Phillip for RHAND Credit Union, and I have alongside me Mr. Michael Odison. Michael is the Chief Product Officer at Ingenuity and the Chief Operating Officer at Crafted. Michael, thank you for coming on to talk to us about these two massive areas, cyber safety and cyber security.
My pleasure.
You have a lot of accomplishments under your belt at your young age in the financial sector and in the security sector.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about you. Tell us about some of the things that you've done in recent years, particularly.
So, since I started my journey in the technological space, I've been very fortunate to be either a part of or to lead large transformational projects. I've worked in the retail space a lot. I've worked across QSR providers, retailers, more in the digital transformation sphere. So much so that, I've deployed apps that have gone to number one globally. Apps that you use every day today to put through an order, right? So I've been fortunate to do that, and I've worked in the e-commerce space. So I've worked with a lot of the bigger e-commerce providers. Recently, I am co-founder of Ingenuity Group Limited. So I'm the Chief Product Officer. So I manage the building of platforms. We do have a platform in the digital finance space. So it is a digital wallet. And even more than that, when it actually launches, and it's going to benefit consumers quite a bit.
Do you find a lot more of the small businesses are coming to you to become more agile where it comes to digital banking? And so, for example, right, that same thing we were talking about with Encash and all those things, I have always found that when I go to like a pop-up, particularly around times like Christmas or when pop-ups are more popular, one of the things that often stops me from buying a lot of things is that I don't want to be walking around with a lot of cash.
Yes.
Have vendors like that been coming to you to get assistance as to how they can make themselves more attractive for people who want to purchase?
Well, so we saw a spike during COVID. So everything was cashless and touchless. And I've since seen a dip in terms of understanding the importance of it. I do think that it's a missed opportunity for companies large and small across Trinidad to really deploy e-commerce, to really look at cashless alternatives for customers. For smaller businesses, you tend to think that it's cost prohibitive, but it's actually not. It actually can be affordable, and it could give you that level of competitive advantage. And for larger companies, we have to understand that it's a process improvement that has to take place as well, because it's a change to existing processes. COVID showed that if you have these systems in place, that your business can survive, right? So I would invite all companies not to shy away, but to continue seeing digital as the way to keep your business alive and to have a digital first approach.
Today, a lot of people think about doing everything online. We bank online. We do practically every single thing online. And a lot of times we don't understand all the safety ramifications of what we're doing because we think, okay, I have a secure Wi-Fi or everything is cool at home, right? I want you to tell me some of the basic issues that people have now with cyber security and cyber safety.
Yeah, sure. So you're absolutely right. Our entire lives now are operated online. And that poses a very big threat if you're not aware of how you could be infiltrated. So a lot of times we hear about phishing and hacking, but at times it's as simple as if you are in the airport and you use the Wi-Fi. So a lot of persons don't know that using public Wi-Fi is a way that your accounts could be hacked. So sometimes you go on a trip, you connect to the public Wi-Fi, and then you see money missing from your account. And there are, of course, measures you could take to prevent that as well. We do a lot of online shopping now. And a practice that a lot of people have is that you use the same password or variations of the same password across your entire digital life. That is also a very major problem, right? Because when you hear that there's been a leak, for instance, you hear, millions of accounts were leaked on Facebook. If you were using your same email and password combination and use it elsewhere, then it's also accessible there. And while you may not see the hack on Facebook, you may then see it wherever you use that email password combination as well. So it's a very, very big problem now, and a lot of persons are not quite aware of how they could be infiltrated.
So again, you don't obviously put your password as password.
Yes. Or God, or because you see what hackers have been doing is you would think that they're sitting and they're coming up with these different permutations. They have software now. So once they get your information, they can then run various combinations. First name, last name, middle name, son's name, but it happens in seconds. Software that does that, and the software can then generate like 10,000 different combinations, and through brute force runs all of those combinations at the same time to see which one will fit. So if you use any email and then you use a password that has combinations of your email in it, then you're opening yourself up as well. So it's even more of a problem than if you just use God or your middle name, etc.
Wow, that's why. And also too, changing your passwords on a regular basis.
Yes, so what some people now use would be a password manager.
Yeah.
In the new version of iOS 18, Apple has actually built in sort of a password manager, which I tried it out, seems a bit safe. And what it does is so you could put a password in there and then it can provide like a randomized password
Yeah.
on your behalf. And then as you log in, you just use that service. And it's not just Apple, they're like LastPass and a bunch of others as well. But you have to do your research, make sure you're comfortable with the choice. But that's one way that you could actually manage the type of passwords. The other thing is two-factor authentication.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you about, because I'm a little confused about it as well. And I know that most of the banking apps, for example, they ask you about if you want to do two-step verification. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so what it is you essentially have a password and a key. And the key can sort of be randomized so that it changes each time. So if your password is static, the key can change. And it comes from a service that is not connected with you, which then adds an additional layer of sort of verification for you. So, for example, if you are logging in to your bank account and you put your username and password in, they then send a key that only you would know, and it would expire within seconds sometimes. So that then now, let's say, for example, somebody has access to your username and password, they would not have access to that key at that point in time. So it then adds that layer of security. And you could actually implement it for yourself. So Google would have like a two-factor app. You could download, Microsoft has it as well. So if you enable it, you could then go and have that randomized, and then you could put that in. That gives you an additional layer.
One of the things about passwords, there's this thing that comes up with Google where they ask you, do you want to save this password?
Yes.
I always click never, because I always figure if somebody grabs my laptop or my phone, that they'll always have the access Am I doing the right thing?
I would say yes to an extent, to a certain extent, because when you save the password is in the browser. If somebody gets access to your machine and they're able to log in and they access the browser, then there's a chance that they could actually get in. So I would say yes. However, again, as you mentioned earlier, your entire life is managed online now, so it can become cumbersome as well. So that's where like a password manager may help you save it in the password manager.
Okay, great. And software updates. I have friends who say, "Oh no, I just click no," and I'm like, "No, you need to update your
Yes.
software." Tell us why it's important to keep updating
Yes.
software.
Yeah, so if you actually read the release notes in the update, a lot of times it's like a security patch. What happens in the background is when a piece of software comes out, and let's just say it's Microsoft, hackers then sit, they try to find critical vulnerabilities, holes, etc. Because all software has holes. So they'll find these holes and then they exploit them. Once they exploit them, they then have a backdoor inside. The software provider will also be going through the process of searching for these holes and these vulnerabilities. So once they find them and it's significant, they will put it together as a patch and they would provide that patch. Now, if you go for years without any patches, you probably have 1,000 holes in your software. Imagine as your house and all your windows are missing a pane. And if a burglar comes, stick his hand in. So, in the real world, you wouldn't let that happen, right? You're gonna update your
Of
panes,
course.
right? Your windows. So you should also update your windows, update your software. And Windows, Apple, they're all susceptible to it now because it's so popular.
Oh wait, so Apple is actually susceptible. There's this
Yes.
myth about Apple being the most secure thing. I know we don't get viruses, we don't get this, we don't get that.
No, that myth started when Apple was a less adopted piece of software. Now they're still very secure, but way back when Windows was the de facto operating system, Apple was at that time used by maybe like 1% of the world. From just an economical standpoint, are you going to target Windows or are you going to target that 1%, right? So they got that reputation. However, all software is susceptible. So now iOS is the most popular piece of phone software in the US, right? So when they push out an update, hackers are trying to crack it. Now, the code base they use, pretty secure. They put a lot of emphasis on security. Even with all these cloud implementations, they're still pretty secure. However, it's still incumbent on the consumer to update. If you don't update and you're using iOS 15, then you're going to get hacked.
Because we're on 18 now?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that's also struck me as well is I have an Android phone, and I know that Android stops providing updates for old software, and for some phones,
Yes. Yes.
that puts a pressure on people now to change their phones more regularly. Is that fair or?
Well, so yes, it is fair because the entire technology ecosystem is advancing so quickly
Yes.
now, and they're actually trying to keep up with the hackers. However, I cannot tell you which phones to choose, but what I would say is the difference between iOS and Android is very fragmented. So Android is open source.
Yes.
So they open sourced this piece of software. Open source means I put it out there and anybody could do
update it. Yeah.
So the core of it is open source. Samsung has now done a pretty good job of trying to follow the pattern of Apple where they kind of push out these updates, force you. But you could still get a no-name brand and run Android, right? And what happens is because it's the same Android that you're running, you could be susceptible. right? So like a lot of times you would hear the new version of Android comes out, but then the brand doesn't provide it to you, like the update or the latest version. Or you could go and hack Android, and it opens up a lot of backdoors for bad actors to hide malware
Yes.
in their apps. So you see sometimes, you give your daughter your phone, she playing with it, she download a game. More than likely, that free game has some kind of malware.
Yeah.
And the malware runs in the background, reads your username and password for your banking app. And then somebody now has access and can log into your account. Happens all the time. So a lot of the free apps has that. Apple has a more rigid process for how they screen apps. So they actually they take longer to approve the apps because they search to see, is there any kind of hidden malware, they scan it, etc. The Play Store is now starting to do that, but it's still not as rigid. So
Okay, so they'll take a little while to catch up.
yes, well, it's a bit less secure.
Okay. So, Michael, I know that with the emergence of social media and all the instant messaging, email might have taken a backseat for some people. But I know that email has been one of the main vehicles for things like malware and phishing and all that. Can you tell me about the role of email within somebody's whole online ecosystem and how much we have to still be careful about email?
Yeah, it's still a very big problem. So email is still very popular.
Mhm.
What has happened is with social media and with messaging apps, we now have multiple modes of communication, but email is still one. It's still one of the most official means of executing any kind of communication. And phishing is still a very big problem. So I would say why phishing now is such a big problem is that when they spoof a website, sometimes it's indistinguishable from the original website, and you actually have to dig into the URL to really tell that it's different, right? But then there's also phishing happening on messaging apps.
Talk a little bit about that now, because some people just don't know.
Yeah, so the same way you could be phished on email, you could also be phished on a messaging app. The same way a hacker could take control of your email, they could take control of your messaging app. And a messaging app is actually more personal. So, someone may not pay attention to your email, but they get a WhatsApp from you, they may think that they're actually talking to the real person, right? And it's very easy if a hacker takes control over your WhatsApp, sending a message asking for money, then you may actually think it's the real deal. So it happens on social media, where you'd see people lose their social media accounts. One of the biggest problems with phishing is if you're in a position of authority, and this is an actual case study I could reference where, you know, so a lot of times to do a big transfer, you just need authorization from the CEO
Yeah.
and the CFO. So hackers will tend to target them.
Mm.
And while your email may be subject to internal IT protocols, sometimes your personal WhatsApp is not. So hackers may then try to attack your personal WhatsApp because a lot of times people have group chats
Yeah.
and they do official communication on their WhatsApp. So it's becoming a big problem now because hackers are now seeing this as a backdoor.
Wow, that's really interesting though, because we never think of it. I mean, for me, I often wonder about Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
Hmm.
There have been times when I have gotten communication from people, but of course, based on the tone of the communication, you know that it's not them.
Yes.
So is it that Facebook Messenger, for example, is less safe than, say, WhatsApp or another messaging program?
Yeah, I would say so. Because there are a lot of ways someone could get a hold of your Facebook account. And at times, someone could get a hold of it and you may not even know that your account has been hacked. And they just wait on the right opportunity. So, for example, with WhatsApp, WhatsApp is tied to your mobile number.
Yes.
So you tend to have to verify that you are the official holder of this number, right? With Facebook, it's just your email and your password. Turning on two-factor authentication is optional. So most people actually don't have two-factor authentication switched on.
Guilty.
Right. So if I fished you on your email, then more than likely I could possibly get into your Facebook and I sit and I wait to see when I could actually use it without even you knowing.
Wow.
Yeah. WhatsApp is also becoming a problem with that. And the reason is now we have eSIMs, electronic SIMs. So in the past, your SIM was a physical SIM card.
Yes.
Now phones have digital SIM cards. Problem with that is hackers are finding ways to copy your digital SIM card.
Okay.
I know of an instance where that happened with someone, and the hacker was actually getting the authentication code. So they lost control of their WhatsApp. They still had their SIM card, but the code, when they tried to get back into WhatsApp, was going to the hacker. And the hacker was then contacting persons. Fortunately, we were able to get that account back.
And you know, the thing is, trying to get your account back is a long and often frustrating process. I know people who've had to try to contact, whether it's Meta, whether it's,
Yes.
and it's not always straightforward because they're managing millions, probably billions of accounts.
Yes.
And so it takes a while for any kind of action to take place. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and you have to remember as well, while you may be trying to get your account back on it, and it's quite valid, hackers also try to go through that channel to get a hold of your account.
Okay.
So they try to impersonate you so that Meta could give them that information. So this is why they tend to go through a more longer process versus it being straightforward and here's the information.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And, we all have smart devices now. The one that I've seen that I really like is where you could look at your fridge and you can see what's inside your fridge. That's all part of something called the Internet of Things.
Yes.
How safe is the Internet of Things, and what kind of precautions do we need to take as consumers? Because these things are, they're very, very convenient. I could sit at home and I could sit outside, be somewhere else. I could turn on my cameras. I can do everything. But therein lies the danger.
Yes.
Explain what are the
Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
And it is a big problem because practically every consumer electronic device now is coming with some smart connectivity capability. It's akin to having, 10 cell phones in your home. So if your fridge is connecting to the Wi-Fi network, your smart TV is connecting to the Wi-Fi network, right? So guess what? If in the past I wanted to hack your phone to get your email, now I can hack your TV. Because it's all connected to the same Wi-Fi network, what these hackers see would be intrusion points. So your TV has an IP address, just like a computer would have an IP address,
Yeah.
just like your phone would have an IP address. And your phone may have some security, your computer may have some security, right?
But your TV probably doesn't.
Probably doesn't. Your fridge probably doesn't. And the Netflix username and password that you're using, it's probably the same username and password you're using on your bank account.
Not me, but I know that some people do.
But
Yeah.
that's really how they look at it. So with the proliferation of smart devices, it's now creating an even bigger problem. And they have software that, if let's just say for an example, I'm tracking your phone. So you installed some free gaming app that allows me to track your phone. when you connect at home, I can then see all of the IP addresses that are coming from that Wi-Fi network because you're now connected to an unsecure network, which is your home network. So I can now look at these various intrusion points and see, okay, which is the easiest one for me to get in.
So then what we should really be thinking about as well is how do we secure our home router? How do we secure that? Because that is obviously the path through which everything passes.
Yes, but a lot of times we would just use the free free antivirus on your machine, right?
Yeah.
Now you actually have to secure.
Yeah, we have to spend some
you have
money.
to secure your router.
Yeah.
And it's just part of it
Yeah.
because the more technology advances and the more consumers adopt these technologies, it's more of an opening that bad actors have.
One of the things that is becoming very popular is the Fire Stick.
Yes.
What are the dangers of the Fire Stick?
Well, so the Fire Stick really converts your device into a smart device, right? And allows your device to speak to the network. That's really what it does. So it provides an IP address and it allows you to log in to all sorts of apps. I tell people all the time, there's nothing free online. So it's either you're paying actual money or you're the payment. So, it's either you pay Netflix or you're using a free service and then someone in the background is actually trying to gain from your usage of the service. So while it may be convenient, we also have to pay attention to how we approach these things. And there are various ways to do it. Maybe not use the same email address for every single thing.
This keeps coming up, change. So essentially, people should try to have more than one email address. So you have an email address for certain kind of apps, so that if anything happens, so that it's not as drastic as if you use your real email address.
Yeah, so
Your
a rule of
primary
thumb,
address. Yeah.
a simple rule of thumb is, keep a couple email addresses for the important things.
Yes.
Because they're free. So keep a couple email addresses for the important things, and then maybe have one or two for the non-important things, where you have a degree of anonymity
Yeah.
online. But don't use one across the board because once someone gets a hold of that,
That's
more
it.
than likely they could access your entire life.
Wow. Okay. And of course, we love to go to Starbucks. We love to go to different places
Yes.
to sit down and do some work.
Yes.
Dangers abound in using public Wi-Fi.
Yes.
You even spoke about it earlier.
Yes.
Tell us, go to town on that for me, on the use of public Wi-Fi and the dangers therein.
Yeah. So, public Wi-Fi is not encrypted. So, similarly to how we spoke about your home Wi-Fi, it's easy for anyone on that same Wi-Fi to use special software to actually see your devices. Some years ago, you could actually get into someone's WhatsApp if they were on public Wi-Fi.
Because people use Wi-Fi on their laptops now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, they say it's end-to-end encryption, right? End-to-end encryption, what that means is the message on your WhatsApp, when you hit send, it's encrypted. It still has to pass through either data or Wi-Fi, and then it's decrypted when it gets to the recipient. If you use public Wi-Fi to send it, then the message, as it passes through, if I get a hold of it, then I could decrypt it based on the software I have.
Yeah.
So it's a risk. So you have to proceed with caution when you use public Wi-Fi, especially if you go and you sit there to do important work, send emails, etc.
Is an option to combat that having your own MiFi? Is that a thing where you can have your own little hotspot? Is that something that would make it safer or no?
So yes and no. Yes, in that that's your own public Wi-Fi, but then your MiFi device is not secure
Okay.
either.
Okay.
The best thing you can do is to practice basic security, so employ two-factor authentication, have multiple email addresses, change your passwords so that you indemnify yourself against any possible intrusions because there are multiple ways that you could get
I want you to say
attacked.
that again. Say what the key elements are in the basic elements of cyber safety for consumers.
Yes, so the key elements would be if you start with your username and password, um, try not to use username and passwords that can easily be guessed, especially the password. Don't use the same password across multiple accounts because if I guess it once, then I could guess it multiple times. Stay away from God is love and these simplistic passwords because it's very easy to guess, right? Look into any free password manager type application that can then provide you with randomized passwords. From a phishing standpoint, be very cautious with links, links that are sent. So don't click random links, even if it's from someone you trust. You should still validate that they are sending you a link because they could have been
Compromise.
compromised. Your bank will hardly ever send you a link in an SMS. And if they do that, then you may need to change banks. But they avoid doing that because persons who employ phishing tend to do that as well. So if you see your bank randomly sends you, or even on WhatsApp, then you may be busy, but try not to click the link right away. A lot of times, phishing they spoof very popular websites, Amazon, eBay, because practically everybody uses it, right? Have a look at the URL before you put your information in. Where HTTPS, the S is for secure. So good practices when you look at websites, ensure that there's HTTPS. Now,
Look at the address and make sure that that first
yes.
thing is HTTPS.
Now, one problem is that I could have HTTPS on just my homepage. And then when I put my credit card information in, it's not secure. So you need to look there as well. Because if it's not secure, then someone can grab that credit card information when it's passed across before it actually gets to where it's going.
Wow. Now that I have 300 passwords to remember. Tell me about how I can back all of this up and let's talk about backing up in general.
Yeah.
I think there are people who will tell you that, oh, I've lost everything.
Yeah.
And that's because they haven't backed things up either physically or in the cloud. So let's talk about backing up from passwords to photos.
Yeah, so backing up, I would say, is now a lot easier because storage is now so cheap.
Yeah.
Sometimes people still don't want to pay for it, but it is advisable that you employ some kind of storage and you perform a backup so that you don't lose everything on your device. You're able to restore it. Backing up is not a safety measure. It's more like a fail-safe in the
Say that
event.
again.
Backing up is not a safety measure. It's more of a fail-safe measure.
Okay.
So in the end, in the event that you have an issue, your device is damaged or something is compromised, that you have a backup that you can go to. So it's good practice to have your key information on your OneDrive backed up somewhere else as well. Sometimes they say a good practice maybe if you have it in the cloud to also have a physical device that you back up to. But an alarming number of persons actually don't back up at all. And it's not until you lose the data, and I've been in situations where we lose a mass amount of data and there's no backup. And it's like insurance.
Yeah.
That's the time when you realize that you need it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you recommend having both cloud and physical?
It depends on the sensitivity of what you're dealing with. Cloud services now are relatively secure. So Microsoft, just by design now, very secure. Apple has spent a lot on securing, securing their iCloud infrastructure. So you don't necessarily need that level of overkill. Just you should employ some measure of backup for your devices because something could happen, your device could be damaged or compromised. Now, just remember, when you back up, it does not mean that your device is protected and secured. What it means is that if you backed up, you could then wipe your device.
Right.
So if someone accessed it, you could wipe it remotely depending on the type of device so that you have your data and you can get a fresh device and you can restore.
Yeah, because a few weeks ago, a friend of mine, his phone fell into a drain. And he was lamenting that all his photos from various trips and everything
Yeah.
were on the phone. And I often wonder because we really depend a lot on our phones. So what's the best way to keep things like that? Photos and videos and what do you think is the best way for us to really preserve that?
Yeah. So for me personally, I use the cloud.
Yeah.
I don't store photos on device. The reason is that let's just say similar situation happens where the device is damaged. More than likely, if you want to recover those photos, you'll take the device to be repaired.
Yeah.
To repair it, you have to pass a username and password to the person who's repairing it. That's a possible intrusion point because you don't know who you're giving your information to. This is someone who now has access to all of you. And we've seen leaks,
Oh yeah, we have.
and
Yeah.
a lot of times it can happen in this way. If you use a cloud service to back up your photos, then you can more than likely log into the browser, change the username and password on that service so that whomever is repairing your phone, they won't have access to certain things. So it's like a personal measure you can employ to ensure that your data is protected because you simply don't know who's actually accessing your information.
Yeah. Wow. It's mind blowing, isn't it?
Well, so it's sort of like a personal practice, right? Same way, in your day-to-day lives, certain measures you need to employ to ensure your safety and your security. You need to do it online as well because a large portion of your life is now online.
Excellent.